Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk all things movies. I am joined by the other Real to Real Talkers, Paul and our dear friend Kristen. Guys, I am excited. We are just a few days away from the 2023 Academy Awards, and
Yeah.
tonight we're going to do a little bit of previews and predictions. How do y'all feel about that?
Excited.
Sounds
I'm
exactly
very
like what
excited.
we discussed beforehand.
Wow. Did I just get trolled? I feel like I just got trolled.
But also excited, though kind of sad / relieved that we're almost done with the season.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking just before the show that this could be one of those years where if trends hold, then we could find it. We'll make some easy predictions tonight.
Yeah.
And we definitely we're going to bookend these next two episodes. We'll talk tonight about the categories. We'll talk about predictions and such, and then hopefully in a week we'll get together and we'll recap and see what the heck actually happened. But the broadcast will be this coming Sunday on March 12th, and as we prepare for it, just sort of as you guys, before we get into the details of some categories here, let's just talk sort of the mood of things as you have taken the pulse of the other awards shows that have happened, BAFTA, SAG, and so forth. What are your feelings? What are your overall thoughts and feelings as you head towards this year's ceremony? Is it a lock for some movies, actors? What do you think?
Paul, do you want to go first?
Take it, Kristen. You're the one that knows this stuff the best.
So it feels like a consensus has started to kind of form with certain things, while at the same time being refreshingly still very unpredictable. Like, there are still some categories that, like, I have not seen the amount of just like, we don't know what's going to happen. Like supporting actress this year, which we really don't know who's going to win. And it's like somewhere between the top 3 are likely, but you could still have all 5, like any of the 5 win, hypothetically.
Yeah.
But I definitely have an opinion of who I think probably could win there.
Sure.
But it's definitely been unpredictable. And like right now, like right before voting started, because the voting did not start until like last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was still kind of all over the place. Then it kind of felt like some of the category, like, definitely felt like everything everywhere all at once, then just steamrolled for like a huge amount of time, minus BAFTAs, which kind of just did their own thing.
Yeah. I mean, if we think about early on, Paul, before we go to your thoughts, we came out of the Golden Globes, a couple of wins for Banshees of Inisherin. There's that sort of sentimental thought I had that maybe this will carry. Unless I'm wrong, that has quieted down quite a bit in terms of that film. And, I know it picked up a couple of BAFTAs, but how has it done overall? Because I really, maybe I missed it, but has that movie held its initial sort of push in terms of results and awards?
I dropped out for a minute, so I don't know what, I froze up and like everybody went bye-byes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will say, if we're talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once, and
we're not,
is that
okay?
Oh, okay. What did
No,
you
I was just asking. I'm okay. It's okay. I'm okay to repeat it. No, I was because Golden Globes kind of fed us some big moments for Banshees of Inisherin, which was a sentimental favorite of mine. But I don't know that it's held that sort of that momentum.
It really hasn't. I don't think.
Okay.
The only thing that is mysterious about the Oscars at this point is, what is the ranked choice? Like, is it possible that ranked choice voting impacts in some way? And honestly, even that, it just feels like probably not, because if it's winning Everything Everywhere All at Once is winning just in every, group. It's not like it's being left off the group, and so there's a segment of the Academy that like, oh, maybe there's enough of those folks that aren't gonna. No, it's just a steamroller right now.
Yeah.
And Banshees of Inisherin is kind of like but it's really good and everybody likes it. But yeah, but it's still it's not carrying any momentum coming in.
Yeah.
And really that's what so it really feels like a situation where, as Kristen was saying, some of the acting categories are going to be pretty interesting, or have the potential to be pretty interesting. Especially the actress category, but whereas the best picture, it just, if anything other than Everything Everywhere All at Once wins, it'll be shocking. It would be literally one of the most shocking, even if it's Tar or Banshees, which are two amazing movies, like just movies that any other year you would be like, yeah, they're the favorite by far. But because of what Everything Everywhere All at Once is doing in every other award, it's just, I don't see how it doesn't win. It's very peculiar.
Yeah. I think your description of it as a steamroller is literally where it is right now, given the last few weeks.
Like for a lot of people, it's no longer now, will Everything Everywhere win? It's now, how many will it win?
Gotcha.
That's the kind of the consensus of Oscar people now trying to like wonder, like, are we actually going to see a sweep for the first time in
decades?
Honestly, since
Silence.
What is it?
Silence of the Lambs?
No, like so since the first year of the preferential ballot.
Oh, okay.
The movie has won more than 6 awards.
Okay.
And the average has been between 2 to 4.
Okay.
Once since 2010 has a movie gotten more than 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha.
A lot of, and there's been a lot of director splits. We've even had one movie won just 2, which was Best Picture, that was Spotlight. So like, we're not in a sweeping era anymore. Like we're not like the last giant sweep was 2008 with that shit show Slumdog Millionaire. Like it's
whoa. I was
episode.
not expecting Slumdog Millionaire shade. I'm
that's
not. I have a lot of opinions, and I tried to rewatch it recently, and it does not hold up.
All right. Well, we have another episode we have to have. Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and jump into the major categories. We'll just kind of get thoughts on what we're thinking and how we think it'll go. We'll start with actor in a leading role. 5 nominees: Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser, The Whale, Paul Mescal, After Sun, and Bill Nighy for Living. It's hard to see a scenario, at least in my opinion, where Brendan Fraser doesn't pick up the Oscar. What do y'all think? I just think that he's got some momentum going here.
Really interesting. No, yeah. I would say it's hard to see a scenario where Austin Butler doesn't get it.
Okay.
And it's just there's way too much charisma there. And I just don't know that, and people like in the Oscars really like to vote charisma. So I don't know. Well, I guess I could be wrong.
I can see either going like either way. I think the main thing that for me that pushes me towards Elvis, sorry, is that The Whale is not a Best Picture movie.
Right.
And if you're not Best Picture, like unless you are steamrolling that year, you're still kind of vulnerable, because it's not just actors who are voting for things. It's also the costume designers, the sound people, the documentary people. And I can honestly, and also I've heard from both friends and also like other podcasts, people have really strong opinions of The Whale.
Mhm.
Like some people fucking hate it. And it never like fails to surprise me like how many people like are just so vitriolic when it comes to that movie.
Mm.
I
Whereas
mean, even
Elvis,
even Sergio and I were not. We didn't hate it, but we were definitely lukewarm on it. So
Sure.
yeah, and so like that's where I'm just like, I mean, I think I prefer Brendan over Austin.
for sure.
Part of me like I kind of don't feel like Colin Farrell has it anymore because even the Brits did not go for him
Right.
Yeah,
because the
Right.
Brits love Baz Luhrmann.
right.
So that's like where I'm just like, well, out of all of those, Elvis has the most nominations and has the most love across different type of categories. I can just see people name checking it in the same way as Rami Malek,
Right.
with Bohemian Rhapsody.
And Renee Zellweger with Judy, and it's just the type of role that Academy voters like to award. You
Yeah.
know,
But I'll be so happy if Brendan wins. Like I am
Sure.
willing to bet
Sure, oh, yeah.
Austin and then be pleasantly surprised when we see Brendan have a public heart attack
Yeah.
on camera.
The the person who loves dark horses would love it if Colin Farrell got called, but I just that's such a like far out.
I'm definitely
possibility.
rooting for Colin. That's the one.
It's possible.
Yeah, I haven't shared this with you, Paul, but I was sort of bedridden these last few days. I revisited Elvis because I really wanted to understand sort of like what is it about this performance, and I think the problem I have with the film is just it's so in many ways over the top. But I can understand that. I do understand the nomination that Austin Butler gets. But yeah, it's just when I think of the other films, or at least two of the other films in this category, I'm like, man, it's just that my heart wants it to go a certain way, but we'll see.
I will at least say that there has been precedent for someone like Colin coming in at the very last minute to get an award. Like I'm thinking of the year where it was like people thought it was between like Jack Nicholson for About Schmidt and Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York. And then eventually that vote split and Adrian Brody won for The Pianist. So like,
all right, that's like
it's possible that like, because these two actors have caused like a vacuum of just like, it's either these two, that like when people feel like it's between two options that they don't like, they will sometimes throw their vote. And that's how we saw Olivia Colman win over, Glenn Close when it felt like such a sure thing.
Yeah.
It's because people are like, well, we're pretty sure that, Glenn Close is going to get it. I'm going to throw my vote to my favorite performance, which was Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
And then it probably was really like razor thin close.
Yeah.
I wish they released the vote total.
I was about to say the same thing. I wish we could see the numbers.
Man.
So
next.
All right. We get to actor in a supporting role. Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for The Fabelmans, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Ke Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Guys, I'm thinking Kwan.
Yeah, and
it's the easiest category.
Yeah, I mean, anything else I think would be a travesty.
I do feel obligated to point out that when we did the announcement episode, that Kristen did mention that Ke Kwan was the underdog, or
right,
in this category. I do want to
underdog.
Yeah, you said that. That's what you said, and I like.
He's been winning everything.
I know, but this was when the nominations were first announced. And I was like, actually, he's kind of the betting favorite. But yeah, no, he's gonna win. I mean, this is the one category where it's like it's not even like there's no conversation really.
And if tradition holds, this is the first major. Typically, this is the first major award that is given, and it sort of sets
supporting
the tone
actresses.
Oh, is it okay? All right, I thought it was supporting actor. But we'll know
Maybe it is.
very relatively early on.
It's definitely in the first half of the show, first quarter of the show. Yeah.
So are we all agreeing, Quan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Want and believe on that one.
Although I love how the runner-up consensus has turned into Kyogen, who I think is a better performance. But
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah.
Interesting how that worked out, where people were just like, yeah, we love Kyogen, but we don't even think he's going to get nominated. And now people are like, yeah, we're pretty sure he might be actually second place.
Yeah, that performance is fantastic, and I'm glad to see that he's there. And as a big Brendan Gleeson fan, I was happy to see his name when that list came out. So, all right, well, that brings us to actress in a leading role: Kate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Roseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams, The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Does this category provide us our first sort of big debate on who it should go to? Does
Probably.
Michelle Yeoh and Kate Blanchett? That's the battle as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I mean it's the biggest debate as far as like this is one where it is 50-50. Like you really have to stretch credulity to suggest that there's an argument for anybody other than Yeoh or Blanchett.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. From a performance standpoint, and because of my preference for the film, my pick here is Kate Blanchett. I think that she's on a roll and should get it, but that's just this guy. So, Kristen, what about you on actress in a leading role?
So I'm torn because part of me does want to jump on the bandwagon right now of switching to Yeoh. The way I kind of see it is that, and thinking back to that, there's not a lot of vote splits that we're normally having these days. And I'm also trying to think too that like the group who likes Everything Everywhere All at Once are Americans. Like we specifically like that movie more than, say, for example, like the BAFTAs were only one editing, or some other non-Americans I've seen where, and also with older people as well, it doesn't quite hit the same for older people. And as we know, the Academy is largely older people. Like it's older industry people.
They have rectified that to an extent.
But then they're also adding a bunch more non-American filmmakers, like craft people, also into this.
Right.
And kind of coupling that like that demographic tends to not like Everything Everywhere more than others. Plus, I mean, this really feels like the only thing that Tar can really get for a movie that overperformed. And part of me wants to lean towards Everything Everywhere not everything, Kate Blanchett, just because people are like, well, this might be the only way that Tar can get rewarded. And if they like the movie more, they're more likely to vote for it. And that's where part of me thinks that Kate has the edge, even though I won't be mad if Yeoh gets it.
Right.
I'm willing to kind of use stats to say this, but then again, anything can happen, and I'll be happy when if Yeoh does get the award. Yeah,
that's where I am. I really want Blanchett to get it. I love that movie so much. It's such a special film, just from the way it's crafted and put together, and it's not the type of movie that we get to see a lot anymore, and to have it out there and be so good, and I want to see that rewarded. But that being said, Michelle Yeoh is kind of awesome in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and so I get it. Yeah.
That is one category I'm really looking forward to talking about next time we all get together, because when the smoke clears, we'll see what happens for sure. So we move on now to actress in a supporting role, where we find Angela Bassett nominated for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow for The Whale, Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, along with Stephanie Sue for Everything Everywhere All at Once as well. I'm going to ask you guys to start, because I'm kind of lost on this one, because I've seen all these performances and I'm like, I don't know which way I go preferentially, in terms of who I wish would win. So, Paul or Kristen, get us started with your thoughts on this one.
Really quick, when the nominations first came out, it felt like, okay, well, this is going to be Angela Bassett, and just it was one of those, like, body of work, and also just a very strong, stern, serious performance in Black Panther. It just, but now that feels so much more like give it to her, and because she's due situation, which the Academy just doesn't do anymore. Like, you don't see that happen anymore. In the past, like, 5-10 years, it just doesn't happen much. So I think it's going to be Jamie Lee Curtis, but I don't know. This is, who knows? Yeah.
I mean, this is the one category I feel like you could almost make a case for all five. Like the top three being Angela Bassett, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Carrie Condon. In a lot of these cases, and this kind of is the same across the other acting categories as well. When you have years where there's no consensus, BAFTA tends to pick, the Oscar tends to go with what the BAFTA picks, because there'd be more overlap in their what do you call it? Like, more overlap in their
voting
membership.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, like, the parallel that's kind of been drawn here is the year Tilda Swinton won for Michael Clayton. Like, a different film was winning every single award. And then the last award was BAFTA, and that was Tilda Swinton. And that's who kind of went on to be able to do it. And lately, too, anytime that there has been anytime there has been a major, like, award that's been up in the air, or a major what's the word for it when you're not expecting a winner?
Surprise?
Upset. I think upset.
Okay.
Like, whenever there is a big upset, it's usually predicted by BAFTA. Like, in the case of like 2 years ago, when we had no fucking clue who was going to win Best Actress, because there was, like, no consensus across anyone.
Yeah.
And the last one was BAFTA, and that was Frances McDormand, who wound up winning.
Right.
And that's where part of me wants to go Condon, because, like, I think for Angela Bassett, like, they don't like Wakanda Forever that much. Like, they don't really care for it, especially non-Americans don't really care for it that much.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jamie Lee Curtis, I think about, like, she's been a huge advocate, but, like, it's hard for me to kind of see a chance where, like, this movie could be the third movie to win 3 acting awards.
Yeah.
And that kind of seems almost crazy now, considering, like, you can barely get more than 4 awards. Like, these days, lots of times, even getting more than 3 is difficult.
Yeah.
And, like, that seems strange. So, like, that's where part of me is just like, well, Carrie, I can imagine that, like, there are people who like Carrie like, they like Banshees enough that this could be their way to reward it.
Yeah.
Among maybe another category that we might talk about, but but, like, that's where I can see a better scenario where, like, yeah, there could be just more support for this performance because they just don't want to, they want to spread the love.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then with the other two people, I mean, there's Marcia Gay Harden, who won nothing before she won the Oscar in 2000.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
it's there's no consensus from anybody. Like
Yeah.
literally anyone could win. I almost want to say Stephanie Shu because people really like Stephanie Shu's
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
Well, and for myself, you know, the reason I didn't want to jump to the be the first thought on this category is because I do believe this is the category that could create that moment of surprise with Carrie Condon picking up the Oscar for Banshees. I really do think that that's a big possibility. But again, it's hard to say because these performances were some of the strongest we've seen this year, you know, within the roles that are represented here. So
The funny thing, if that happens, if it goes to anybody other than Angela Bassett or one of the two everything actresses, is that because of how early it comes out, it'll just like the interwebs will go crazy with, oh, what's going to happen now? Is everything, but like, and then it'll just be
No.
like and
That's
then
a
it'll
moment.
just be like, and then everything was for special effects, everything was for blah, and for art direction, and you know, all these other things that it'll be up for. It'll just pick up, and then you know, and then the final one, and then
Yeah.
everybody will forget that they were like, oh my goodness, might it not win, you know? So
now, well, for myself, I again, just speaking from a 100% preference standpoint, that was my favorite performance of the five. So
okay,
we'll see what happens.
we
So,
shall see.
absolutely.
I
All
will laugh
right.
my ass off if Hong Chao wins.
Yeah.
Even though that's
Anything
my
is
favorite
possible.
performance, just
No.
because it would break everything.
If she had been nominated for the Menu, I'd be like, actually, I really want to see her win. I'm so lukewarm on The Whale that I'm not big on movies that I'm lukewarm on winning. Like, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
And that's where I think Brendan Fraser, that hurts him.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
All right. We move now to directing.
Yeah.
The five nominees are The Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. Where do we land, guys, on this particular award? Who is picking up?
Daniels.
You think so?
Yeah,
I
I think
think
the Daniels
so.
have it.
But it's a category I feel is more vulnerable
Yeah.
because these dudes, they're young.
Right.
Mm.
And like it's, I mean, with the exception of like La La Land's, like it's not often that we are. That's where I'm just like, is it possible that like Everything Everywhere is just going to win every single, like it's going to come out of this with what, like 6 or 7 awards? Like
Yeah.
it's insane to me.
Yeah, and I don't think it does. And I think this is the one that splits it. I think this is the big category where it just doesn't carry.
But it's hard for me to make a case for other people.
No, it's really easy to say people like Steven Spielberg, and they were perfectly happy for some reason with The Fabelmans, and so therefore they're going to reward
You
it.
think?
Yes.
Well, because like what Fabelmans is going to win? What, just director 2 years in a row? We're going to have a movie that just wins director,
Yes.
and people don't really like it.
Well, no, people love it. I disagree with the idea that people don't really like it. I think people love it. I just think it's you know, the right people love it. You know, like whereas most people are just kind of like, mid Spielberg. Everybody who's like kind of tied into it is like, oh my goodness. Here's the thing. I think that when you sit down, like just trying to go into the psychology of the people voting, okay, when you sit down and you look at Everything Everywhere All at Once, and you look at all the places you voted for it, you realize, oh my goodness, I voted for it for editing, and I voted for it for, you know, production design, and I voted for it for special effects, and I voted for it for sound. And then you hit director and you look down and you're like, well, I am definitely voting for it for best picture. And then you look at director and you're like, you know what? there are two fantastic movies here on director, and one director that I love. And I haven't voted for these other two movies for anything yet, and or I kind of want to vote for Steven Spielberg because it's fun. I just don't. I think that it's very easy to pick either Todd Fields or Martin McDonagh or Steven Spielberg here. As a voter, like the psychology of a voter, I think it's very easy to look at those three things and say, I this is where I'm going. And it's not a knock on the Danes at all. It's literally just these, two of them are astonishingly good movies that are perfectly that are the craft of direction to perfection. Tar and Banshees, the way that the entire story flows and everything moves and everything that happens, it's just put together perfectly. And then and Steven Spielberg, who does a perfectly fine job putting together his life story that people love. So but
I do think Todd Field is possible.
Yeah.
Like
I would love to see that.
In a whatchamacallit, like basically go back to that same year where Adrian Brody won for The Pianist.
Right.
Roman Polanski won. And people thought it was either going to be Rob Marshall for Chicago, who won Best Picture, or they thought it was going to be Martin Scorsese, because by that point he had not won something, and people were like, "We need to give him something."
Yeah,
yeah. Well, it comes down to, if not the Dans, then who in that category. So we'll wait and see what happens.
I want to
talk about it next week.
Nick said here.
Sure.
He says The Fabelmans was boring in a Spielberg wankfest, and I don't disagree, but. If there's anybody that likes to vote for a wankfest, it's the people of the Academy. So,
good
I
point.
don't condone Spielberg winning. I don't want that.
I don't want Spielberg to win.
I don't want to see it. I really, really, really want to see Todd Field win. I would be super excited if Martin McDonagh win, and I'd be perfectly happy if the Dans win.
Yeah.
And I'd be ridiculously shocked and tickled if Ruben Östlund won. So.
I would be too.
No,
I would not be mad.
Yeah,
but
at a horse race,
I will literally just be like, well, that's just typical bullshit if Steven Spielberg wins. But I'm just saying that I see that being that's just typical bullshit movie, that wins in all of these categories that we've already discussed.
To use a pro wrestling phrase, if Steven Spielberg wins, we riot. So, all right. The last major category before we get into podcaster's choice of categories from everyone. Best Picture. The nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun: Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. So many great films. But I again, it's hard to think that it's not a foregone conclusion that this will be Everything Everywhere All at Once. I, again, have my own preferences of what I wish would happen.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll. You guys know I love Banshees.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, take us through your thoughts, Kristen. We'll start with you, and then Paul, please, your thoughts on Best Picture and where we'll land.
Yeah. Everything Everywhere. It's the only movie I can think of that could maybe do better is, and I hate I'm saying this, Top Gun: Maverick, because people like it way more.
Yeah.
And it has a broad appeal, which you need to have for preferential ballot. And that's where I think that kind of makes things difficult for Banshees and makes difficult for All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah.
Because they are dark movies. They are sad movies. In some cases, they are very difficult movies. And there's a lot of people who have seen Top Gun: Maverick multiple times, sometimes even double digits in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I can imagine someone just being like, as someone who's put Hallmark Christmas movies in my top 10 of the year.
Yeah.
That it could be that, yeah, they had the prestige movie that's ranked very high, but it's not just number ones anymore. You need to have
Right.
2s, 3s, and 4s.
Right.
And if you have someone who's just like me, who's just like, yeah, Tar hits that intellectual point, but number 2 for me was RRR. Very, very close because I just fucking enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
the same thing with the year before, where my number 1 was Drive My Car, and the second one was M. Night Shyamalan's Old, because I just love it. Where I can just imagine like people were just like, yeah, I really like the movie. Like it's just a lot of fun for me. And
Yeah.
maybe I check off the movie that, like, of course should probably win, and then I rank this very high because it's just like it, and it got a writing nomination for some goddamn reason. So like
That is a
people
mystery.
Like it.
It is so poorly written. I don't see that happening. So I don't even think you see that happening. I think
Oh no, I
think,
don't. I'm just like,
yeah.
it's just conjecture at this point.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Like if you're looking for, okay, well, what's the scenario? You laid out the scenario, but even then, I think Americans like Top Gun Maverick. I don't think it has any international appeal,
Oh,
and
no.
it's the Academy is way too international now for that scenario to play out. I think there's enough people internationally that would put Top Gun Maverick number 10. Honestly and seriously, just go like, yeah, starting with the bottom, Top Gun Maverick, like, so if it weren't for the Fablemans, Top Gun Maverick would be my number 10. Like and I liked it, it's a great, I do want to point out, I really enjoyed all 10 of these movies except for the Fablemans, which I found just banal, and but the other 9 were really enjoyable movie going. Even Elvis, Elvis, I like, it was a spectacle. It was boom, 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 but like utterly forgettable, and I don't ever have any desire to go see it again. So yeah, I mean, everything. The thing is that, like, Everything Everywhere All at Once probably would be my number 3 if I were doing my rank choice. I would go Tar, Banshees, Everything, and I think that's really, even people who are only voting for happy things. Like, I don't know the scenario where Everything falls much further below 4 on a lot of voting. It's just,
Oh, there's some people who really don't like it.
that's surprising to me.
It surprises me too.
Yeah.
And
I
those
really
people
don't like it.
Avatar.
I really didn't like it, but I understand that it will more than likely take Best Picture, and that's perfectly fine. One of the things that I want to say before we close out this particular topic is that for at least 5 of these films, if you take out Everything Everywhere All at Once, you put them individually into any other year against a field, they have that quality of Best Picture capability. Tar, Banshees, women talking, there's, I mean, even Triangle of Sadness gets pretty close, but my point is, what a strong field, and just probably for me, one of the most enjoyable years in terms of having gone through all 10 of these films and enjoyed them. So we'll see what occurs.
This is the first time since they expanded categories beyond, or nominations beyond 5, that I had seen all of the nominees before the announcement. So I was very proud of myself. And you go, Kristen. Awesome.
Yeah, all of us. And one of the things I want to ask just very quickly, because I know we want to get some more topics, but I just want to get your opinions. We have seen where historically it was 10 nominees, and then we went to the 5 nominee field for several years. Does 10 hurt the process, or is 10 necessary for the process to play out in a fair manner?
I think it's fun.
Okay.
Same. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, like,
fair enough.
I think back to, I just think the thing I don't like about it is, so originally the idea behind the expansion was to give the opportunity for more different types of films to be like represented, because 2008 wasn't really good at representation about that stuff. And that's and that spurred like to cause it. And I do think having 10 helps. It helps include certain movies that I think could have been on the bubble
Hmm.
and not gotten it. So like and then of course sometimes it's just random. Like last
Yep.
year was Nightmare Alley, which got Best Picture nomination, probably just from tech people who really, really liked it. But I also think it gives opportunities for interesting things. Like because of the 10, we have Best Picture nominee, District 9, which I think is a really fun thing to say in a sentence. You have a whole bunch of other things. And like sometimes you do lose that in some years where because of the older system, it was usually somewhere between like 7 to 8 nominees every single year. And sometimes like, yeah, you'll just get a snub in there because it was just like on that bubble. It was 9 or 10.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, 10 movies that I think live up to where they are.
Fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun.
Fun.
It's fun. Keep doing it.
Indeed. All right. Well, we're going to go to what I'm going to call Podcaster's Choice at this point
Sure.
and turn it over to Kristen. If you don't mind starting, what are some of the categories you'd like to mention or comment on, Paul? Same thing. And let's do a run through any other topics you guys want to bring up.
Original screenplay. I think it's Banshees. I honestly think going back to how many awards are we going to give Everything Everywhere? I think it's possible that like, what was it? There was a trend I kind of saw like name checked in another website that I usually follow where they're just like, usually they might give original screenplay to something that's more interesting than what the actual winner is going to be. So like, for example, you'd have Shape of Water win Best Picture, but then Best Original Screenplay went to, whatchamacallit? Get Out. Or when you had people assume that La La Land was going to win Best Picture, but Original Screenplay, they went with Manchester by the Sea. And you kind of see this kind of across like a few other years as well, where it's just like if they are pretty sure like, yeah, this is going to win, then they might spread the wealth and give this something else like it might give that award to somewhere else. And I feel like because Martin McDonagh has been nominated multiple times, I mean, he has an Oscar already, but like because he like this is his third time that's in a writing nomination, like I can imagine them being like, yeah, we really love this movie and we think it's a better written movie than Everything Everywhere, which there are good qualities to what it's trying to do in Everything Everywhere, but it's not nearly, I think, as polished as I think McDonagh's script is. And you could almost, again, kind of like with the Tar thing of just being like, I could also see just older members or like more European members just being like, yeah, we like how complex Tar's script is. And Todd Field also has been in the industry much longer than Daniels and much longer than McDonagh. So like I can also see them being like, yeah, we're really happy with you. This is your third time being nominated for a screenplay. Second time that you've been nominated for Best Picture. Like, yeah, we'll throw you a bone there. But I think it's Banshees. I honestly do.
Okay.
What do you think?
On original screenplay specifically, yeah, I do think it was the best screenplay too. Like, you know, just honestly, just from just an absolute tight story that, you know, where the dialogue just absolutely clips every single line. It's the most well written of the movies, and so I could see that for sure.
Yeah. What about adapted screenplay though?
Adapted, I mean, look, I haven't seen Living, so I can't speak to that one.
It's just basically Ikaru.
Yeah, but I haven't seen it. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
but that's an interesting one because I could really see, like you mentioned Maverick. I could see them just be like, oh, Top Gun Maverick, why not? I don't think that it'll happen. I honestly think it'll be women talking. I think that is I think just the masterful way that they came to the conclusion in that movie is just so perfect and touching and obvious, but not obvious once they speak about it, but not obvious from the storytelling standpoint. That it's just I hope it's women talking. I would, that's the one I'm rooting for by far. Like it's not even close for me.
Yeah, I hope so too. There's a lot of people who are now thinking it's all Quiet on the Western Front, but
yeah, I can see that.
I feel like if you like women talking and it has this picture, I can just imagine people being like, yeah, this is the only thing it can conceivably win. And we're going to make sure it's going to fucking win.
It is so well written. Like, honestly, the two most well written movies of the 10 nominees that I realize I haven't seen one of them were Women Talking and Banshees. Just written. What did we hear them say? That from that standpoint, it's those two for me. So,
yeah. I'm before we get into other categories, and I'm not sure if you guys are going to bring this up, but I'm looking at visual effects and sound, and both are absent of Everything Everywhere. So with visual effects, All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. I just assumed that everything was nominated for those.
No, so just real quick, I visual effects for me, I don't know how Avatar doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know what y'all think.
Top Gun could take it just because it's all practical effects, and sometimes people are just like, you know what, I'm going there.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, they can make really weird visual effects choices.
They can.
Like
what
like
won 2 years ago?
The 1-2 punch of First Man in 2019.
That's
and then
the one.
Next year with 1917, where it won visual effects, which were like, yeah, I guess both good choices, but also kind of random as well.
Yeah.
I was surprised that I hadn't seen that the Batman was in there. So, yeah, that seems so long ago. Sound was All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun Maverick for sound. I'm thinking Top Gun Maverick has a shot.
Yeah.
All of these have good aspects when it comes to that. The least memorable, of course, being the Batman. So
yeah. People love the Batman, though, by the way.
They do. But so my answer is actually coupled with another category.
Okay.
I think it's Top Gun. There are a lot of people who think it's possible that just because it's a war movie that All Quiet can win. And I think it's totally possible.
Yeah.
I just look towards the trend of sound and editing get coupled together a whole bunch. I forgot, where was it? I had gone through, maybe it was the last time we had talked about this, or I went through every single time, the past 9-10 years. The same movie has won editing and one sound category when there was more than one sound category. In some cases, won both of them, which includes Mad Max Fury Road. It includes Dunkirk. It includes Bohemian Rhapsody.
Dunkirk deserved that, though. Let's not get too overboard. Dunkirk, the editing in Dunkirk was phenomenal. I mean,
but even Sound of Metal, that film editing is strange. That is a bizarre movie to have won best editing, but it was like a shoo-in for best sound.
Right.
And the same thing happened last year, where last year we really did not know who was going to win editing, and then Dune took it along with sound. And it seems like because those two things get coupled, and a lot of people are also saying Everything Everywhere for editing, I think it's possible that Top Gun takes both sound and editing.
I would be so surprised if Top Gun takes editing. That third act is such a mess. I just
sweaty as hell.
I just don't know how you can just it's so comical, that third act, that I don't see how you can be just like, yeah, that movie's cut well because of the insane superhero ending. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Before we go to any other topics you guys want to talk about, Paul, I have to ask you,
Yes.
where are we thinking on animated feature film? Because
So,
I know what we want.
Yeah, look, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is in my top 3. I am not even like remotely delusional enough to think that it'll win, but I really hope enough people see it nominated. By the way, streaming on and available on Showtime right now. I'm hoping enough people see it, like, oh, maybe I'll watch that movie, because it's just the best family entertainment movie that's come out since probably Kubo and the Two Strings. But neither here nor there. I because stop motion for some reason rarely wins. I know that people are like, Pinocchio, it's got Guillermo del Toro's name on it. They just don't give it to stop motion, though. They just do not. And so I think it's going to be Turning Red, which is delightful because it's such a it's such a good movie. It's such a really great classic, animated movie. I hope I hope that Turning Red wins. If Marcel can't, but that's where I am.
Kristen, where do you land on animated feature?
I think it's Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio to lose.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't even like that movie, but it's won everything.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine something else winning. It's possible because people thought it was going to get way more nominations than it did. People thought it was going to get score as well as song.
And they were saying it's a possibility for Best Picture, and yeah. Just for whatever reason, stop motion doesn't win that category, though. So I we'll see. I guess we'll see. Yeah. Like, if it's like, I still don't know how Kubo didn't win the year that it was. I don't get it. It was by far my favorite movie of the year. Like, it wasn't even close that year. Like, Kubo Two Strings was, and that it didn't win. Whatever. That's fine.
Wait, is Turning Red, is that Pixar?
Yeah, that's Pixar.
Oh, then that's hard because, yeah,
Pixar runs a really good campaigning machine.
Academy likes Pixar even when they are not really good Pixars.
Yeah.
Or like, but particularly strong Pixars.
But Turning Red happens to be a good Pixar, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, given the time, one last round, things you want to talk about. Kristen, we'll start with you.
I mean, we've talked about most of everything. I'm gonna be super happy when Naatu wins Best Original Song. That's like the only other, like, one of the few categories I feel like we can probably call. So excited! I want it to happen. I can't wait for it.
I just hope that if it does, or when they do it, they have Kevin Bacon come out and do the dancing, like, and he does his Footloose dancing routine while everybody else is doing their thing, because it's they basically just stole the Footloose dance scene and said, "Here, this is what we're gonna do." I'm sorry.
That's okay. The Footloose is a movie.
Animated short. They're all available online. I've watched them all. You have to go find An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I Think I Believe It. It is just one of the most hilarious and thought-provoking pieces of film I've seen. It's just don't. All the other ones are really good too, by the way. All of the nominees this year are actually really good in their own way. My Year of Dicks that was the first one I saw. I said, "Oh, this is going to win. Like, this is it." And then the second one I saw was The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, and I was like, "Oh, well, this actually might win," but The Ostrich Told Me That the World is Fake is just an absolute delight, and I hope it wins. It probably won't. Again, stop motion. But yeah, that's the one I'm rooting for.
And I also have one really quick category.
Sure.
I really, really am rooting for All the Beauty and the Bloodshed for
Mhm.
documentary. Because I think right now it looks like it's going to be Navalny.
Ugh, really?
Like, because it's won DGA, it's won PGA, it also won BAFTA.
Did it?
So
Over Fire of Love? Don't get me started on documentary, because then I'm going to start talking about freaking Moon Age Daydream and
but like, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed to me is just like such a phenomenal and important film. And I'm pretty sure like they're just gonna give it to Navalny just because of subject matter, probably.
yeah.
But I'm that's the one category, like I would hope that like at the end of the day, All the Beauty wins. That it triumphs somehow. I'd be happy with Fire of Love, which I have not yet seen yet, but I've heard really good things.
It's really good. It's really good. I haven't seen All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. I just haven't. I'm hoping that it would. I was hoping it would come to a streamer before now, and I could avoid the rental fee, but I might just have to suck it up.
All right. Well, it's been a fantastic time predicting and discussing with you guys. Of course, a week from now, we'll gather again to go through the aftermath of this year's Academy Awards. So, Kristen, as always, thank you so much for being here to share your thoughts. We love having you on, as you know. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to next week when we figure out what the fuck happened.
Exactly.
What happened?
Yeah.
How can we be so wrong?
That's going to be the subtitle of
that.
the.
What scandal are we going to have this time?
Oh,
Who's gonna
my.
slap who?
Yeah. So many moments to discuss. Looking forward to them. So we'll see you again next week, Kristen. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, Paul, as always, it's a great time when we get a chance to talk to our friend Kristen and get her thoughts on really anything related to movies. We do have some time, Paul, for a couple of real quick reviews. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Thank you for taking the load on this one this week.
Yep.
Because it's been a week. So
okay.
Are you okay with starting with Operation Fortune?
Sure, let's do it. So, hey, let me ask you, what do you think of Guy Ritchie movies?
I absolutely love Guy Ritchie movies, and I'm really disappointed I didn't get to this one.
What do you think about Aubrey Plaza?
Aubrey Plaza, she's a treasure, an absolute treasure, and everything she does.
What if I told you that you get to hear Aubrey Plaza make water play jokes in a Guy Ritchie movie? Does that interest you at all?
Oh man, I got to go soon.
Yeah. In spite of being probably the worst titled movie in movie history, just a really solid Guy Ritchie is on a roll, making absolutely perfectly fine movies. It fits in with The Gentleman and the Wrath of Man and Operation Fortune. It's just like boom, boom, boom. Here are 3 Guy Ritchie movies. Guy Ritchie's being Guy Ritchie. He's bringing people in to do Guy Ritchie things. And you're going to enjoy it. And that's what it like. If you saw The Gentleman and the Wrath of Man and at any point we're like, oh, I'm so tired of this, I don't want to, then you can skip Operation Fortune. But at any point you were like, oh my God, I'm so happy that Guy Ritchie is back to doing Guy Ritchie movies. This is the one for you. Enjoy.
Excellent.
Enjoy. And it has the added bonus pleasure of Aubrey Plaza making water play jokes.
There you go. Well, so for a rating on Operation Fortune, where do you land?
Yeah, it's 4. It's 4 tacos. Where are we? Hold on. I'm sorry. I should have been ready. That's on me. Show 4 tacos.
All right. I cannot wait to see it. I already have plans for it this weekend.
Excellent.
So thank you for handling that. And I had a feeling it was going to be a good one. So
yeah.
All right. The other film that was released this week that many were looking forward to is Creed 3. Paul, how does this franchise feel going forward?
All right, so super quick. I had not seen any of the Creed movies before like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I just wasn't interested. I realized I don't really care for boxing movies, and I also really don't care for MMA movies, and like like watching people beat each other is just not something that I'm interested in anymore. But because I knew that this was coming up, I was like, okay, well, I better go watch them. So I watched them. I really liked the first one. The second one, I I really liked the first time I saw it when it was Rocky 3, even though they tried to make you think it was Rocky 4 by using the characters from Rocky 4, but it actually is Rocky 3. Like
Okay.
Creed 2 is Rocky 3, and I thought Rocky 3 was better than Creed 2. Creed 3 is its own thing.
Mhm.
It's really it's very different from 2. And it really is its own chapter. And bravo, thank you for making your own chapter. First off, let's just get that out of the way. Secondly, it's well made. It's put together. This is Michael B. Jordan's first shot at directing, and I think he does a really good job. Of just, you can tell that there was a story here that he wanted to say.
Okay.
And he does a good job of putting it together. The fight scenes are put together in a way that you've never seen. Like you flat out, he's doing things. I'm not going to say if they work or not. They might work for you. They might not. My understanding is he's a huge anime fan. And so a lot of some of the camera techniques and whatnot that you see him use and take advantage of are things that you would see happen in anime. And you kind of get that feeling. And it's interesting. I liked it. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it 3+ guac.
Okay.
I was, when I got out, I was like, oh well, that was a perfect 3 taco movie. But the more I thought about it, even though not everything worked for me, like I genuinely respected the effort, and so I will never watch this movie again. Though, however, I'm just gonna throw that out because I'm done with boxing movies. I just don't want any more. I'm good. It does set up for sequels, though.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. I have to ask you because you said so. Raging Bull.
Oh well, Raging Bull is a whole other thing. Look,
okay.
I'm not saying I don't like. I mean, look, I grew up watching Rocky movies. I love Rocky 3 and Rocky 4. I remember seeing both of those in the movie theater.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Like, I have reached my saturation point. Gotcha. Like any boxing movie that's already in my heart, I'll watch you again.
Yeah.
But like it's the same way with drug movies where as soon as I saw what was the Aronofsky movie? Oh brother, Aronofsky. Why isn't it not coming in up? Oh shoot! Why can't I think of it? And she won a Best Supporting Actress Oscar, and with Jennifer Connelly and the Wayans brother and the younger brother.
That's not ringing a bell at all.
Oh my god! Hold on, I'm gonna have to go because I can never spell his name right, so I'm gonna have to go around the long way to get to. It's not 2 A's. Okay. Requiem for a Dream. As soon as I saw Requiem for a Dream, I was like, you know what? I don't ever want to see another movie where somebody ruins their life with drugs. Like, I'm good. This is the last one I need to see.
Gotcha.
And I still feel that way. Like anytime I watch a movie and the movie's just entirely about somebody ruining their life with drugs, I'm out. I check out immediately. It's just, the ceiling is very low.
Okay.
For those kinds of movies, and that's where I am with boxing movies. It's just this, like 3.5 stars or 3.5 tacos is probably the best score you're going to get out of me for a boxing movie, and it's just I don't.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Why are we in 2023 and we're still paying people to kill each other in a ring? Like, I don't.
Well, all the more reason for me to say thank you for bringing us this review. So, but I've got plans to see both films this weekend, so I'll get to just enjoy them. So, all right. Well, as always, Paul, it has been a fun time talking movies with you. I'm excited about next week's show. We'll recap the Oscars and enjoy another visit with Kristen, and then we will just keep plugging forward. So
you remember that time we did the live look-in at the Oscars? That was fun.
Yes, that was very interesting. Very interesting. So
you're not going to see 65 this weekend, huh?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I really want to. I mean, are we going to talk about it next week at least briefly?
I will have seen it.
Okay, well then let's plan to. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I've got a lot to do this weekend. So
You know what I'm
Uh,
not seeing this weekend?
tell me.
Scream 6. I didn't see
No,
Scream
thank
5.
God. I'm so glad. In fact, earlier today, I was going through, getting tickets and stuff for my coming weekend, and I thought, oh my God, I hope Paul doesn't want to see Scream. So I'm very thankful.
No, you're good.
I've seen one, and I have no other interest in the rest of them. So
Yeah, I've seen one, and I 100%. Like I watched the first one. It's like, yeah, no, I knew I wasn't gonna like this. I didn't like it. It was fine, but I don't have like any sort of emotional attachment to it that other people have. So I'm
right.
good.
Oh no, I'm glad we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
So,
but
all right. Well,
Adam Driver fighting dinosaurs. That
I'm in for. That's an end. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we'll talk about that next week as well, and look forward to the Academy Awards. Make sure you check them out. Those of you out there who are watching, thank you for being here. And remember, as we always say, you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. We'll see you next week to recap the Academy Awards. Have a good night, everybody.